So, we're not actually talking about natural news, but this is to the point where I really want to show really how far their tendrils have grown, shall we say, in the internet, and why, I talk about them as they are, natural nonsense. So, this story comes from a German publication called the Epoch Times. Yes. From what I can understand about it, it's a Christian apocalyptic end times type newspaper, hence why it's called the Epoch Times. And I'll leave a link down to the original article below. Now, here they go on and claim that there is this paper that shows proof that vaccinations are the reason behind autism, because in the study it shows that unvaccinated children who are homeschooled are less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. Now, let's be serious here, because even the report, again, as you'll find, with most cases like this, you won't be surprised that if you actually read the report, because here's the thing, they actually have three sources. The first is Natural News, which, again, is not a reliable source, so boo on you, Epoch Times, for using Natural News. Your next two, however, good on you, you actually use the actual source paper. Now, you've posted it twice, but you seem to think it's a different paper, but it's the same paper. It doesn't say that at all. The report, first of all, this report was done anonymously. So, you don't have access to children's medical records. You only have access to what the parents gave them. And in this case, when you're talking to the unvaccinated homeschool children, it's very likely that these parents are going to be up on their anti-vax knowledge. In fact, a couple of years ago, there was a study done about unvaccinated children. However, the study had to literally end because, according to their parents, these children were literally 100% healthy to a point where they never even suffered bumps or bruises. So yeah, that shows you what trust you should be placing in these parents when you ask them to answer honestly. And again, when you look at the papers here, we'll look at the results here, you'll notice that basically if you compared a non-vaccinated homeschool child to a vaccinated public school child, they're sicker a lot more. Now, here's the thing. With the public school, because this was an anonymous study and they didn't have access to medical records, to be able to back that up, they used schools' attendance records so that they could go and look at it and go, okay, so they were sick on this day and this day and this day. But with the homeschool, all you have is the say-so of their parents. So there is no real background to really do this. And let's face it, this was not a huge study. Now, they claim 600 homeschool children were used in this study. That's not true at all. Again, if you read the paper, it was only about 261, 62, something like that. So that was not a large sample size at all. And that was total children in the study. So that was nothing. Even the paper goes that, these findings might be interesting, but we need to do a more rigorous fact-based check using children's medical records, because I must stress they did not choose children's medical records, and even in the paper they say that it is more likely that these children who are vaccinated, who have parents, will take their children to the doctor more often than the children who are unvaccinated and homeschooled. The paper also says that the children who were not vaccinated and homeschooled were more likely to have chickenpox and whooping cough versus the children who were vaccinated and homeschooled. In fact, if you look at diseases across those lines, the homeschooled ones were more likely to suffer from communicable diseases because they're not exposed to the public school environment, making their immune systems even weaker. So on top of not having vaccinations. So basically this entire paper rests on the fact, in fact the entire report, as does the Natural News one, basically relies on having to cherry pick one stat, and that is the ADHD stat. Now you have to understand that probably public school children and teachers are more likely to be on the lookout for these signs and symptoms. So obviously you are going to have a high result in that category. The paper even says that. But of course they say nothing about that and just basically dishonestly report the entire facts shown in this paper. And then they have the goal to actually post the paper. So if you read the paper, you realise, well, hang on, you've said this, this and this, but actually the paper says something completely different. So as normal, not only do you have Natural News being completely dishonest and biased, but here you have a, shall we say, a secondary newspaper using Natural News as a source and the primary paper, but failing to report accurately what the paper said and what the conclusions of the study actually were.